Hey YouTube, it's me, Jen, your Pudgy Picker,
And Kim,
and we are here for another podcast of Two Sisters.
one booth.
So today's topic is going to be all about price tags.
Yippee! I'm so excited. I love price
Well,
tags.
hey, this is the part of making money, is people looking at the price tag, realizing what you're charging for it, and actually getting it to go through the register. That's the money
the
shot.
goal, yep.
Yeah, that's how it is. Now, when it comes to our price tags, we have ones that are sold to us directly from our managers or owners of the mall, so that all of our tags are uniform. There's 55 to a sheet, and there's 50 on a sheet, and it's 55 cents each, and that is at their cost. So they're not making money off of those. Are just plain white sticky labels. We also have hang tags that have the same printed the same way as the sticky ones.
Yep.
We also have ones that say sale, but they are also basically set up as the regular ones, but they're like a fluorescent yellow color.
They're turned sideways.
Yeah.
I don't like writing on those.
I know.
I
It's
don't know
more
why.
difficult.
It just doesn't fit good on them.
Yeah, especially if you're writing a long word. And then recently, maybe about a year ago, if not a little less, we have tags that are 50% off tags. Now, the price that you write on the tag is the 50% off.
Yep.
Because we had one particular sale where we called everyone's attention to look for the blue tags.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still use them, but there always seems to be a bit of confusion. Even if you have a $20 item and you stick the blue sticker on there and you put 10 so people can see both price stickers, it's still a little bit confusing.
Well, it's still for me too, because I only cashier once a month. And if the person's having a sale on their booth, so it automatically comes up in the system as their discounted sale price.
Yep.
If it's a blue tag, I have to change it to the blue tag price, because it'll take off the percentage off the blue tag too, which we're not supposed to. So that's hard to remember all the rules and everything when you only cashier once a month.
Yeah, I think that would be hard to,
It is.
keep track of. Because I'm the kind of person, if I learn something, I have to keep doing it. Otherwise, my brain goes, well, we haven't used this in a while. Get rid of it.
And we thought that was dandruff on your shoulder. It's just
that's
all
just
the
all
stuff.
this information falling out of my ear, and I just brush it off onto the ground and keep going. So, essentially, our price tags are about 1.5 inches wide, would you say? And
Yeah.
about 1 inch tall.
Yeah.
Now, there's room on our tag. It has a hashtag or a number symbol, and that is where we put our vendor number.
Yep.
Next to that is a dollar sign, and of course, that is where we put our price.
Yep.
Then there's an empty space where you are to write a description of the item and
Yes.
say what the item is.
Yep.
And then underneath that is a stock number, which some people choose to use or not use. And we'll go into why it's a good idea.
Yep.
Even if you are selling, if you're not sharing a space and you don't really need that number, you don't think you need that number, there's certain things that you should know to make it easier to look up something if something doesn't go on your number. Now, we're all going to kind of go with the assumption that you, wherever you are buying tags from your mall. Uniformity really does make sure that we don't have somebody come in there and just stick a sticker on it and write anything they want. So it is a safety issue of why they have all the same ones. So that's definitely something. Now, I know in our old mall, they used the same type of stickers. And now that there's a new mall in the same area, 25 minutes apart,
Yeah.
they are now putting the same information, looks the same, but on the very bottom it has the name of our old business.
Yep.
So, because there are people that are in both. So that definitely makes it easier if you move one thing from another if your vendor number is the same.
Yeah.
But that makes
you don't
it more
want the other
Yeah.
person's.
Yeah. Because I have seen a
Info.
few, I don't know, I'm sure you see them at where we're at now, at Antiques and Uniques, that you see tags go through with the other place's name on them. Because
Yeah,
a few people just move stuff around. So
Yeah, they frown upon that. They don't want it done. But you've got to think too, if you've packed up a bunch of stuff and you're taking from one to the other, you may not have even caught that. So
Yeah.
if it's accidental, it happens, but
So, I guess the first thing is, now that we've described what our tags look like, we want to tell you how to use them properly, because there are a lot of common mistakes. And we've essentially used the same the same tag for, let's see if I get it right, almost 8 years.
I don't know, something like that.
Oh my goodness.
I lost track.
Usually I'm always a year behind.
I know.
Usually I say 4 and you go, no, it's 5. I say 5 and you say, no, it's 6. So we're darn close, because we were at the other place 6.5 years, and we've been here almost 2. Wow. So it is 8 years.
Okay.
It'll be, yeah. It'll,
If you say
well, that
so.
means it'll be,
I have no more math in
it'll
my head
be
today.
9 years in September. Well, no, we took those
Oh,
few months
no.
off, but that's a
Well,
long
yeah,
time.
Yeah, we've been at it a while.
So we've made mistakes. We've seen other people make mistakes. And I guess the biggest issue is that if you are expected to use a certain one from the mall, don't make up your own.
Yes.
Because we see people take basically that same size sticker and they will draw lines on it and make it look like.
You know, you can buy them and then they run them through their printer and make little lines and stuff, but they're not the same and they don't look the same,
Yeah.
and we'll go into why that's not a good idea.
Yeah. So, of course, you want to make sure that the tickets are filled out completely, because there are many times where we've picked up an item and there is no vendor number, or everything is filled out except the price. Because I think people think, well, you know what, I'm going to think about it, and I'll just put it with my other stuff going out, and then when I go to put it out, I'll write the price on it, and then it completely goes out of their mind.
Well,
So-
we've both been guilty of that at times too.
Yeah.
Putting stuff out. I've accidentally, when I'm sitting there writing numbers and I start going up on my vendor number. It's like the next number up, next. Wait a minute,
25,
no,
26,
you have to do it.
27.
It's like,
That's
oh
funny.
my gosh,
That's funny. I know when we have something, or you're asking me, you're like, hey, could you make out a quick tag? Because I'm sitting there and I have my tags out. And she'll say, can you write up a tag for this item? You know, put $8 on it or whatever. I always write my number. I'll do it like 4 times and I'm like, oh my gosh. So, because I had some fabric before my humongous auction haul, we got a bin of fabric and we both went halvesies. What was like $5 each? It was like $10 for a huge tub.
Yeah.
So I had a piece of paper and I was, filling it out and doing your number, my number, trying to keep it even. Ended up being, it was about almost like $240 worth of fabric, and I had the running total, so we were about $120 each. But I kept writing my number, and it was aggravating the tarnation out of me, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? So, fill it out completely. Also, not everyone is known for their good handwriting.
Oh my gosh.
And you're at the register, so
Oh
you
my
probably
gosh.
see the gambit of having to ask everybody, what does this say? How much is this?
I could think of 2 vendors right now off my head that have the best printing in the whole wide world.
Now I know one who you're talking about. The guy who
Yes.
does a lot of the World War II memorabilia.
Oh.
It looks like it's printed off a computer.
Yeah.
It's so uniform.
And I could just hug him every time I see him, because it makes my job so much easier when stuff comes through. You're used to your handwriting, or you're in a rush, and so you write it a little quicker than usual or something. But when it comes up to me, is it a 6? Is it an 8?
Yeah.
Is it a 5, or is that a 3, or if you want your money right,
Yeah.
you better write it right.
Yeah.
I can't
So
be
the
held
other one's
accountable.
me, right?
Oh, well.
You'll have to tell me who the other one is because I don't know if I know. But the one vendor you're talking about, it's like, it's like he should have his own font on the computer.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then there's some that you just can't read it to save my neck.
So when these items come up front, it's also very important that they have an accurate description, because in our mall, like, I set 3 items down. Kim peels the stickers off and then scoots the items down to the person who wraps them up and bags the items. And she has to look at the item and look at the tag and make sure that what the tag says is what the item is. And I'm sure you've had things come across there that are totally not what they're supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, if you get, a 12-inch red pail with wood handle or something to that effect, and it's stuck on something that has nothing to do with that, we can't sell the item, because then it's a chance that someone is actually switching a price tag out.
Yeah.
And
it can be done purposefully, trying to get it through the register cheaper, or it could also be that sometimes stickers fall off of things and stick to something else, or you're bringing them in and they bump against each other and stick. Yeah. My first experience of catching one was at the other store when I was cashiering, and it was for like $2, and it was a glass crystal chandelier style lamp. And I went, holy mackerel, that's a good price.
Yeah.
Are they kidding? And I got looking at it, and it was for something else. But it got stuck to that lamp. Well, the person, I didn't think the person purposefully did it.
Yeah.
You could tell by their reaction that they just thought it was a great price and was going to buy it.
Well, when you're looking at something back in the day, now you look at the shelf, because not everything has a price tag on it anymore. Mm-hmm. But that's basically, you glance at that and you're like, oh, okay, I'll buy it.
So they were very disappointed, but there was no way I could sell it for that $3 because I knew that wasn't right,
Yeah, so, consider it if you have... Now, we're not saying you need to, write a whole biography of this item on the description.
That's what I do.
I was going to say, but there's a limited amount of space.
Yeah, not much, yeah.
But the thing is, if you have several, candle holders, you have to, maybe give a height or give a color or give what it's made out of or something, so that you could have, or vase. You got one that's, a 6-inch vase, and then you have another one that's like a 20-inch vase. Yep. And the price, of course, are going to be different on those. So that would encourage someone who isn't honest to switch those.
Or salt and pepper. How many of them you just say salt and pepper shaker? Well, that's nice. It is a salt and pepper shaker, but if it's a collectible or something, or it's a cheapy little dinky one, I don't know the difference. So whatever price is on it, that's what you get.
And it's not even necessarily that someone would switch it in your own booth. Then, it's your fault. But somebody could take a tag from one vendor and stick it on something else. They could stick it on any salt and pepper shaker in the whole building.
Yep.
And it would go through. So I know everybody might be in a hurry, but it's in your best interest to get paid what you're asking for your prices or for your items if you are accurate and your writing is legible and you have an accurate description on there.
Yeah, so a lot of times if I have a couple of different items in there that are similar, or like you're saying, like the candlesticks, I've had a couple of those. They're different heights or whatever, so I'll put a 5-inch blue candlestick or a metal candlestick. I'll be specific with being glass or metal, color, size, 3-inch, 5-inch, 7-inch, 10-inch, whatever. So when it gets up to the front, you not that you have to take a measure out to check everything, but you could tell if it says 10 inches and it's on a 3-inch or vice versa. You're going to know the difference real quick.
Yeah. The other thing that is worth mentioning is if you have a salt and pepper shaker and they are not in a package, put a tag on both items. Now what I do is I fill out one that will say, here's my number, $5 or whatever, white bird salt and pepper shaker. I just took out 2 little teeny ones that are adorable. And then I put my stock number on, And then on the other one, I will put my vendor number and an X through the price, and then I will put in the description 2 of 2.
Yep.
So when that comes through, people know. And if something gets separated, you don't have this one item floating around with no price on it or no tag, so people don't even know where it goes.
Yep.
So that is something to keep in mind. If you have, a set of 6 glasses, you should be filling out all of, fill out one. Don't fill out all of them.
Oh yeah, because that could be just as
That's
confusing.
confusing. And put set of 6 whatever glasses.
Yep. 1 of
the
6.
next one, 2 of 6, 3 of 6,
Yep.
4 of 6.
Yep.
And put your vendor number on there. So if one gets separated or whatever, then they'll be able to find that. Then when it gets up to the register, if the stickers are taken off, they only have to take the one off, and the rest don't necessarily have to come off, because the number, you have a scratch through
Yeah, as
the
long
price.
as it's in ink and it's already been marked off, they can't reuse it. So
Yeah, so that's the point. So that is exactly how we want to do that. Now, a stock number. This is mainly for your own personal use. What are some of the reasons you could use a stock number, Kim, do you think?
well, I know there's a lot of people that use like Excel reports because this is literally their business, and
Yeah.
they have more than one place, and they have taxes and all that other stuff. So they put it in an Excel report, and when they get their pays, they go through and actually go into the Excel report and check off what was sold or whatever. So a stock number will bring it up quick reference for them.
So you're keeping track of your inventory.
Yep.
I think another thing is, and I know you did this for a while, and I'll have to ask you now if it worked or if you still do it, that you would write what you actually paid for the item. So if it was, $1.50, you'd put, 150 or your initials in front of it and then 150.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that work, or do you still do that?
Well, I used to also initial where I got it from, a G for Goodwill,
Really?
or GS for garage sale.
Huh.
But that was a lot of extra work, and since I'm not that big of a vendor, that I got to a point where I realized I didn't need to do that. So,
Okay.
but yeah, in general, there was, because I was sitting here, I knew that this part was going to come up, and I'm thinking, do I want people to know? Because if they know who I am or they look at my stuff, they're going to know. But you know what? I mean, you're going to know that I didn't pay a lot for it in the first place, or I wouldn't be selling it.
Yeah.
So in general, because before I would, then I got myself confused. I'll be honest with you as to how I used to
Well,
do
this
it,
is,
so you learn.
Yeah, this is
why.
the good
Yeah.
and what works and what doesn't work.
So what I would do is say something was marked $2, and it was half price, so it was only $1. So I would put $2 on my tag. I'd put my initials and then the 200, and then I would know it's half of whatever I put on there. But then it didn't always work that way. After a while, I'm like, well, I paid $2 for it, so
No,
I'm
you
going to
didn't.
but then I'd put $2 because I paid $2. It wasn't on sale, so then when I'm thinking later, did I pay $2 for it? Was this one half price? So that got to be too confusing. So I
Okay.
stopped doing it that way, and I started doing it that way. Now I know there's a lot of other ways of doing it. I've spoke to a lot of different vendors that have talked about pricing or putting those on their price stickers, and some they have this big elaborate formula, and if it's this number, then they always jet it up a certain amount for each one. That way they can jet it down when they go to. Why?
That seems like too much
I know.
work.
And I guess that's the point I'm trying to get. The whole purpose of it is for you to know
It's
something
supposed to make
about
your
it.
life easier.
Yes, it's for you. It's for your use. If you're you have a lot of inventory, you have bigger places, you're in more than one spot, you sell in 20 places, then yeah, a more detailed number system would be great for you to keep track. If you're like me, I do a little eBay, I'm hoping to get bigger, but do a little eBay, do a little of this, and I don't need that much elaborate. So yes, my initials, and generally are all abbreviated. If it's $1.50, 15 instead of the 0, or
Okay.
something along that line.
Now, I'll say that I use the same stock number for everything. And the reason why I do that is, at first, since we have two separate vendor numbers, I never really used a stock number. And then one of the owners told me, and I don't know if this was at our old place, might have been at our old place.
I'm pretty sure it was.
When we had, hey, I had a $30 lamp in my booth, and it's not there anymore, and it's not anywhere near my booth. I think somebody might have got credit for that. They go in and do a search in the computer.
Yep.
And if you have it a certain flat price, everyone else is going to have 100 items, thousands of items that are going to be $30 or that exact amount. And if they typed it in under the wrong vendor number, they can look it up under the stock number. Yeah. So having a stock number in our case makes it easier for them to locate something if it, was typed in wrong. Not that you ever make mistakes, I'm sure.
Oh, never.
Never. So, but that's an easier way for them to look it up, because a lot of people do use just flat $5, $8, $10. So if everybody's doing that, there's literally probably thousands of $5 items going through or that are sitting around in the store up there. So if you have something to make it different, because then I was like, well, we don't have the same vendor number, so the number's me. And they're like, yeah, but if it's typed in wrong, and then you say, hey, this was a $30 item, and they type in $30 lamp, and it comes up with all the lamps that were sold, and they see my stock number pop up, that's going to make their search a lot easier to find. Yeah. Because I know we go over, when we get our tags back, that's something else. When they peel them off, put them in the computer, we get a readout of everything that's sold, and the date it's sold, and the description that the cashier wrote in. Then we sit down with the list, and we sit down with the paper that has the stickers. I do every check. Go through and check mark it off of the list. So if there's something that was sold that is not mine, it's going to pop up. Or if there's a tag or two on my paper and they're not on the list, then I need to say, hey, I don't think I got credit for these. So the stickers made it to the correct page, but it might have been typed in under the wrong number.
Yeah.
So this is when legibility is important.
Yeah.
The other thing, what else was I going to say?
Well, about that, the one last thought was, at the same time, don't get too crazy, silly with those numbers. I hate that. It's like B9C729-5BA. It's like, really?
That's too hard and complicated.
And dashes and slashes, and it's like, come on.
How many spaces do you even have to type
that's
that
what
in?
I was going to say. We're
you
at a minimum
run out of
anyway.
room.
It's probably like 6 or something that show up on anything.
Yeah.
You could type in 100, but only 6 of them are going to show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people get really crazy.
Mine
with
is
the
4
numbers.
digits and it's numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a PIN number or it's got to be so specific. But, I mean, if you're using a 4-digit number, you could use your address, you could use the last digits of your phone number. That's, even if somebody happens to use that number somewhere along the way, the chances of it interfering with a search on the computer is probably infinitesimal.
Mm-hmm. I have someone else they use my first initial before their numbers. So have to watch
and
that.
sometimes if you don't write your K on there, you'll get like 1C or something. You can tell somebody's trying.
Hello.
So legibility, you can't emphasize that enough.
You can't read it.
Yeah.
It's not good.
I would say the only issue I have with my numbers is my 4s. I don't come down and over and then lift my pen and then do the last long stroke. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry, it'll look like a U, or it can even look like a 9 that's not attached at the top.
That's
so
true.
I have to be careful because, every other number that I write is very legible. But it's like you said, it's like anything else. You're in a hurry, you're pricing stuff, you're, trying to hurry up and get it out there.
The arthritis in my thumb is bad one day, and I have a hard time writing.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I'm not joking.
So writing in your vendor number and your stock number, And if you don't need, you think, well, I don't keep track of my inventory that way. I would have no use. Still, use a number. If they're providing that for you, that's a protection for you. Now, the other thing is, like I said, if you're going through and comparing the list to the stickers, sometimes if they can't get a sticker off your item, they will type it into the computer. It will show up on your list, but the sticker isn't removed because it's on something delicate, or you have it taped because it kept falling off, whatever the case might be. Sometimes the cashiers, instead of standing there picking at something for 20 minutes, will just let it go through. So you may not have all the tags that are on the list, but if you have tags that are on there but they're not on the list, that tells you they were probably entered, incorrectly. Now, yes. So, so talking about that, there's also people who have found, like if you're walking around or if you're working and you find a tag on the floor and you can't find where it obviously came from, like it got stuck on somebody's shirt and fell off, or they were carrying an item to the front and it fell off.
Kids playing with it all the way to the front.
Yeah. So you might have a tag. If we find a tag, we have a little slip of paper that says this tag was found on the floor on this date. And the person fills in the date and staples that tag, and then it goes in your book. So that when you get it, like I've gotten a few, and I've said, oh, that's that orange lamp that I still have in my booth, so it must have fell off because the lamp is still there. That makes me know that I need to go in there and take care of that. So that's, if tags are found, that's how they're dealt with. Also, our stickers the white ones are removable. Now that doesn't mean that they always come off. And it doesn't mean that they always come off of everything cleanly.
Or damaged something.
Yeah. So if you are putting a sticker on something delicate or something collectible, a magazine, an album, anything paper related pretty much, you can't do that because we have had people at the front start to take that sticker off and it starts to take up the paper and the person says, I don't want that. I don't want it now because that's
devalues it for some collectors.
So I know what I do if it's on something delicate. I have antique photos. What I do is I take a small Post-it note that's just slightly bigger than our price tag. I stick the price tag on there, and then I stick the Post-it note on there. And for the most part, they stay on pretty good.
Well, that's what a lot of people do with books, too.
Yep.
Old books is... some of them are very delicate, and again, you can rip the page or lift the print. So that's a good suggestion for books and magazines is a Post-it note with the sticker on it. It's good enough, but it comes off real easy.
Or just put it just inside the cover.
I was just going to say, inside the cover on the Post-it. Also, for books is some people take a piece of string or floss and run it through like the center of the book page and around the binding, and then put the tag on that, so you can just snip that off when you get it home. And you've got to find a way of attaching it without it possibly destroying the item.
Yeah, and I've told a few people that they've said, oh, I'll try and take that tag off when I get home, don't bother taking it off. And what I do suggest to people is if I'm up there wrapping or helping out, I say put a hairdryer, a warm hairdryer on it, and that should warm it up enough where it should peel off easily.
Softens up the adhesive on it.
I mean, something is, it's not like the tags that we have are meant to be removed. So what we do to make it easier, what I do, is if I am sticking that on there, I take the top right corner and I bend it back just a little bit before I stick it on. Then that gives the register people a little place to grab at it and pull it off easier.
Something I just had go through the register last time I worked, that was an issue, was little die-cast cars.
Oh, that's got to pull up the paint and everything.
The paint, or, especially the older ones or the vintage ones, they have those stickers, or they're not fully painted. They have those little stickers on them.
Yeah.
So when I pulled that off, it pulled part of some of the the painted sticker off of the side of the car.
Mm.
So thank goodness in this case it was something for a younger kid and it wasn't really going to matter.
It wasn't
But
collecting,
if you have collectibles or anything that are worth anything, be careful even of that. They'll lift the paint right off there, the stickers right off.
Or even if you have something that is vintage or older, I mean, if you're putting a sticker on a Lefton piece or something, they have that special little scrolly little sticker that's on the bottom.
Yes.
That's important to age, to date things.
Yep.
So you don't want to stick that right on there. And if you have any kind of glassware or something that has a maker's mark, you don't want to cover that maker's mark up.
Yeah, because people will lift the stickers looking for a mark.
Yeah, and if you go into the thrift store,
yeah,
all those glasses,
yeah.
they stick it right on the bottom, and you notice people are peeling them up so they can look.
They can look, yep.
And it's, so that
Very
makes
true.
it easier. And it seems to me that we get batches of stickers sometimes that either don't want to come off of anything or you can't stick them on anything.
You stick it on something that's got like a mug or something that's got a little bit of a shape to it, and then you set it down and you turn around and it's falling off on the counter.
So I mean, sometimes I don't know what it is, if they're just their stickiness meter on the machine is messed up or something. Because sometimes you can't pick those things off, and other things you said, like you come in there and I'll get it out of my cart and the price tag's laying on the bottom.
Well, that's another thing is I have used Scotch tape over the top of a sticker that didn't want to stay. Again, like Jenny was saying, and because that's always suggested to new vendors, is to take that little corner of the price tag and bend it under, so it gives a place for you to get a hold of it to lift it. The same way with a piece of tape. If you're going to put a piece of tape over it to hold it in a place because it's an odd shape or something, before you run that tape all the way down, tip that little piece of edge of the tape under too.
Yeah.
Because you know how Scotch tape is.
Ugh.
And even
you
if
can't even see
it,
where it ends and begins.
exactly.
At it.
And then when you get to the register, if it's laid that flat, then I'm sitting there picking while I get a hold of your price tag. But then the price tag wants to rip at the level where the tape is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the pain for the customer that has to go home and try to get that sticky off. So just put the corner, tip the corner under so you can get a hold of it. Makes it easier for us.
I know at one time there was a batch that came out that seemed they were more difficult to remove. And what I was doing, if you have that problem with your tags, is I would bend the edge under, I would stick it on my shirt, and then pull it off and then stick it on the item.
Yep.
Just enough where it picked up a little bit of that so it's not quite as sticky
well, I'm
as
thinking,
it was.
Like the white stickers, they have their good and their bad batches, but the yellow stickers are practically
The yellow
impossible.
are not meant to be removable. They are not marketed as removable.
No. And so with those, when I place, that's one of the other things we were going to talk about, I think mention was, don't put a sticker over a sticker, especially if the price on the bottom sticker is lower than the top sticker. That's nothing but problems. Take the other sticker
Remember
off
years
first.
ago in stores you'd see that and it'd make you so mad.
Yes. But the reason I bring that up now is talking about the yellow stickers. If you want to mark something down, I would always turn the yellow sticker sideways so that my vendor number and the original price of the white
so
tag
they can
is showing.
see how much I marked them down.
Yes, and then I put the yellow one underneath that. But that being said, again, depending on what the item is you're putting it on, the tag is still hanging over on either side. So to keep it from sticking too much or damaging the item, that's what I do. I take the edges and rub them over the edge of your clothing or something so it picks up a little bit of the fuzz.
Yeah. So I don't think the blue ones are meant to be removable because they're pretty
sticky too. Like the
they're
yellow.
I mean, and they're set up the same way. They're set up where they're taller and less wide than the original ones. We have the white ones
sounds
are
like
wider.
Us. You're taller and less wide, but I'm shorter and wider.
So
I'm vertically challenged.
Now, another thing that we're going to go into in a way that you can use the stock number is, I'm going to try and talk about this nicely. When we were at our old place, they were trying to cut down on paperwork, and they didn't want to have to print out several checks. And there was a run don't ask me why, of people who had more than one vendor number. Like you personally, Kim, you had 3 vendor numbers. So I think that was a thing where it's like you have to pick one, and we're not going to print out 3 checks for you. So I can understand that.
Well, I didn't have it. She used that as an example.
That's an example.
Yes,
But what
I
I'm
didn't have
saying is
is
that there were people who were doing that. Now, I totally understand that. You're one person, have one number. But it got to a point where he said if you have a single space and you are sharing a space, you have to have one vendor number. Now, this caused an issue with us because when that decision was made, we had 2 separate vendor numbers and had been using them since we started there.
Yeah. Well, not when we first started. When we first started, we were kind of sharing one.
Yeah.
And then that's when we went to 2, is
Yeah.
when you went to the second booth.
So I think if there's 2 separate people,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But it got to a point where it's like you have to have one number. So, and the choice at that point, since it was, we'd already been doing it one way. We didn't come in.
We had a double booth, and we had a gazillion pieces of crap.
So to change that to one number would have been a pain. So the people who said, I want to keep my 2 numbers, then you have to work an extra day. So that was kind of your penalty for having 2 separate numbers, which we did. Because with a double space at the last place we were at, we should have only worked 3 days a month. And we actually had to work 4.
Yep.
So that being said, if you go into a place fresh and you are told you have one space, you have to have one number, and you begin to price your items that way, that's a different story.
Yeah.
It would have taken us weeks to go through that and
I
change
would've
everything
just
out.
Gave up.
That would have been definitely
pulled out.
a pull your hair out type moment.
Yeah.
So what you can do in that instance is you have one number. Like if Kim and I had to share a vendor number, we would put a different stock number on. I would put my initials or something, and she would put her initials. Now, that being said, it's still a pain in the butt when we got a check.
Oh my gosh, was it? Yes.
That we had to literally sit down and figure out, this is how much of your items sold. This is how much percentage had to come off, because that was part of our vendor agreement with our rent, and a percentage. Then, if someone used a credit card on one of Kim's items, but not one of mine, they used cash, it was kind of a nightmare.
Very, very detailed, trying to figure anything out.
So, the best we could do was use a different stock number. But, and I think we just put it in my name, then we'd sit down, figure it out, and then I would just give you the money from that.
Yeah. You'd write me a check that I'd cash 6 months later.
Oh my gosh. When I write you a check, you better cash it within a week. Because I check and I keep a balanced checkbook. It's one of my OCD things, and I would text her and say,
would you cash that check?
So now at least, if I had to give her money or she has to give me money, oh, by the way, I paid rent last week.
Yes, I know.
So, but now we have PayPal accounts, so I could just shoot her a few money, or she could shoot me a money, instead of writing a check. So that definitely makes it easier. But if you are forced to use one vendor number, the stock number can make it easy for you to separate who sold what. So, because we did that in the beginning.
Yeah. Another reason why, and that's another podcast, why we won't sell stuff for other people in our booth, because it's far too hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
Too much work to figure it out each time.
Yeah. I mean, if you got a Picasso laying around, we could talk.
Yeah.
And that'll go to Christie's.
Yeah, I was going to say, I ain't taking it up there.
So we've talked about what our tag looks like and, how to use it properly. If you have to share a space. I guess we've covered a lot of the safety issues. Is there anything else you could think to add?
Just if you have to make a correction on your
Oh,
tag,
yeah, that's a good point.
please don't just kind of cross it out or stick your initials over it. And I'm not supposed to sit here and decipher hieroglyphics to see if that's your actual signature or whatever on it.
And we have over 100 vendors.
Yes.
There's no chart as to here is everybody's initials.
Yes.
It could have easily as been crossed out and a new price written, and any initials
Yes.
could have been written there.
I think the main thing that I want to make sure we get out of this for people is the price tag is just not your price tag. It's not just something you stick on there so you can get your money. That price tag is a safety for all of us. It keeps people from walking in that store, pulling out something that looks similar, filling it out themselves, and walking out the door with a $75 item for $1.75.
Yeah.
Where they have gone in and they've scratched it out and changed the price and initialed it that I don't know the difference. Or they've brought in a sticker that looks similar. Or they've scribbled the same information to the point where I can't read it so that I charge the customer an incorrect amount. The bottom line is you want your money, you want it dealt with in a professional manner, then you've got to treat that price tag as if it is worth money itself.
That's true. And that also reminds me, and it's been stated many times, that if you are up there and you're pricing items or you're putting items out, do not leave any tags
Yes.
in your booth. Even if you say, oh, I got to run up to the front and get a hammer, you do not leave blank tags where a customer can reach them, because that is like a blank check that
Yeah.
someone can fill that out
Yeah.
and give themselves a 90% discount.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if, in let's say, we happen to leave a tag out and somebody takes that and goes to somebody else's booth who's very careful about not leaving their price tags laying out.
Yeah. It's like leaving a blank check for them to fill it
Yeah.
in and cash it and walk out the door.
Because I've walked through before and seen a pile of tags, and I pick them up and I immediately take them up front. And I kind of want, when that vendor comes back to their booth, to go, oh no, crap, where'd those go? Or, I say what booth it was, and then they'll page, the vendor to there. You don't do that. You never do that.
It's like leaving money there.
Yeah, it's not only going to, that's not to say somebody could pick up that price tag and buy something out of your booth that you'd kind of get what, you'd kind of get it because you weren't being careful. But they can walk 2 doors down to my booth and steal something from me because you were careless.
Yep.
So that's definitely an absolute no-no.
So, it's like in certain situations when you know something's really important and you don't want to mess up. In a case like this, I have a metal. I picked it up at a thrift store, of course.
Of course.
But it's like a clipboard, but it was for like work orders and such, so you can open it up and keep things inside of it.
Yeah.
There's other things. You could use a bigger clipboard or whatever, but something that's big and kind of hard for you to miss when you're done doing what you got to do.
Yeah.
So if you set it on the corner of a shelf or something, you're not going to forget. When you stand there and look around, you're going to see it. So make it a habit to do something in such a way as that you're not going to forget. I know this is kind of off subject, but sometimes I've stopped down at this beautiful market down the street, but I buy some lunch meat, garlic bologna in particular.
Garlic.
And I go to the store, but I put it in their little refrigerator until I leave. So I'm always worried I'm going to forget my bologna or hard salami or bacon. Last time it was bacon.
Somebody's going to steal it, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was fresh bacon. Yeah, it's good. Anyway, so what I do was I put my car keys on the bag that I put in the refrigerator.
Because you're not going anywhere without those.
That's exactly it. I don't care how far you get. I am not leaving until I have my keys. So you've got to have that mindset of things that are important. You're not going to leave your wallet sitting there and walk away from it. You're not going to leave your purse sitting there and walk away from it. So the same way with those price tickets. Make it a way that you're not going to be able to walk off and leave them lay.
Yeah, with the car keys, too. I never get out and lock my car, like, on the door with the button and then get out and close the door. I always use my key fob to lock my door because I know if I do it the other way, I'm going to lock my keys in the car.
And
So it's one of those things. It's like a stopgap measure to not trust your brain to say, "Oh, I'll remember I set these over here," because we've been hanging up stuff in the booth, and we're 2 seconds later, where did I put the hammer? We're looking all over for it. So it's one of those things, it's, you just have to, like you said, train your mind.
Yeah,
and we have like a little tackle box, I know I do, with all my price stickers. If I have to go up front or I have to go somewhere else, I take that with me. You don't leave that where the customers can dig through there and find, stuff.
Your good stuff.
Yeah, so, that definitely is a security issue. Oh gosh, what else was I going to say?
I interrupted you.
I don't remember.
It's all my fault.
But, we had the podcast already that we talked about following the rules of your mall. And it's, it's not just going to, affect you detrimental. It's not going to just be a detriment to you. If you leave a price tag or you do any of these other things, it's going to affect other vendors. And the other thing is, if you have a price tag from the store and you go to put it over the thrift store sticker or a garage sale sticker, don't do that. Because when you get up front, has that happened to you, Kim? Where you've peeled off the sticker and there's a price. And the look on the person's face is probably priceless.
I've had them bring with not our stickers on them, because the person forgot to take the sticker off and not put a real one on. And they come up expecting that I'm going to give it to them for that sticker price. Sorry, ain't happening.
Yeah.
No.
And you know what? Another issue is, and we had a problem with this where they had to kind of make an announcement and say, don't come up to the mall and make this part of your habit to bring in your stuff, and then you sit down in the cafe area and you pull all this stuff out onto the table and you're wiping it down and pricing it. All that stuff should be done at home. The only time we're ever really filling out price tags is if we're marking a few things down, or we're putting stuff out and we realize that a tag came off of something, or we somehow forgot to put a price on the item. So we don't make it a habit to price things there at the mall. And that's also going to cut down on you having a price tag laying around.
Yeah.
So, that should be done at home. That would be like, you go into, Kohl's, and you're walking around and there's people all over with boxes pulling stuff out to hang it up on the shelf, like in every department. I mean, I know stuff like that happens, or, but to have everything, out of the cardboard boxes and that's not being done in the back where stuff's pulled out of boxes and put on hangers or whatever. Customers don't want to see that.
Oh.
And we're also taking up room in the cafe, which the person who runs our cafe, they pay rent too.
Yeah.
So if you're in there taking up, valuable space, and there's nowhere for someone to sit and have a sandwich or a drink, then they're not going to do that, and she's losing money.
Yeah.
So that's another way to be considerate of her as well. So follow the rules. Use whatever price tags that your mall is saying that you need to use. The other thing is the hang tags. I've talked about this before, and if you've watched my channel, I even have a video how to make hang tags out of playing cards. But I take our price stickers from the sheet and I stick them on the hang tags. So they're made by me, but they have the official sticker on them. Yeah. So I'm still following the rules by that.
You can use any of those. On my handmade items, I have larger tags that I hand stamp, that they're handmade and my name on it. And then, but again, you put the regular sticker price on the back of that too.
Yeah.
So
you're still following the rules, but if you want something with a personal touch,
branding your own items.
There is a lady, and I'm not sure if she's at the new one, but there was a lady at our old mall who used to lay all the price stickers out and tea stain them. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And they looked like old vintagey, like they'd been laying around for a while. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot of work. I mean, people think me making hand tags is a lot of work.
Probably wouldn't be a lot to throw them in a tea thing, but then lay each one out so
and then they have to like dry off, and I don't know. So, but everybody, people want to have things branded or have that extra little touch.
Yeah.
And I've had so many comments from customers and other vendors that see that I use the playing cards, and that's so cool. And when I go back and they're sorting out the price tags, I can glance in there and I can tell which ones are mine because of the playing cards.
Yeah. That's true.
So, yeah. And talking about putting stuff on securely. We've already talked about, tucking the edge, and if you need a piece of tape, do that too, tuck an edge of that. But also, the hang tags, use them where they can be securely tied to the item.
I shorten the strings sometimes. I mean, I'll literally cut the little knot off and retie them if I think that the item's just going to slip off, but it's something that you can't stick a sticker to easily. So shorten the tags up.
So you can do, what I do is I put them on like I'm normally going to put them on, and then I pull the little extra, and then I tie a knot, and then I cut it off.
I've done it that
There
way.
is so funny because when you have the tag, it goes up and it's tied at the top. What you're supposed to do is take those two strings that run together and wrap them around, and then take the actual tag and slide it through the two. There was a lady that didn't understand that at our old place, and she kept having to cut the knots off and tie them off. And she's like, I don't understand why they put a knot in the top of these. It was so funny because we're like, well, yeah, and she just looked at me like, oh, you have to be kidding.
Well, I mean, I've cut them off because I'm thinking, like, there's been a couple things that were, like, statuey, but you didn't have a place, like, their arm isn't sticking out where you can run it around their arm or something.
Yeah.
So I've put it around the neck of things. But you know it'll fall off because it's still too big that way. So by retying it snugly, that it's not going to go past that. But
this lady was, even if she could put it around the arm of a statue or something, she was still cutting the knot off, and then she didn't understand you wrapped it around. It was so funny because she had that.
Cute?
You see that light bulb go ding above her head, and you're like, oh, and I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, I got it. So yeah, we've all
That's
had
funny.
those moments of
more than I care to acknowledge
that we will not admit freely.
No.
So, yeah, when you're doing that, you have a hang tag. The other thing is, and this is just a personal thing, and I'm sure Kim will agree with this because it's my idea.
Yeah, I have to agree or she'll beat me.
When
over
you
the head.
hang stuff up on the wall, have it so the tag is facing out so people can see the price. Especially if you have items that are fragile. The less you have people touching and handling stuff just to see what the price is, the less chance that item's going to get broke when they hang it back up on the wall and it falls.
Like
So what I always try to do is I always try to have a price tag. When I hang something up, it's where you can see the price. This is also true if you have a locked case. Put the items in there so that you can see the price tags. Because the less chance of people handling things, the less chance of it getting broken or something getting stolen.
Or the lock's not getting locked back properly. That's happened a number of times.
So if you have it there, because some people will, oh, how much is that item? That means somebody has to walk all the way over to customer service, get the key, sign the key out, walk all the way back over, open it up. You show the person, they go, holy cow, that's too much, never mind.
Yep.
So you can save a lot of effort. This isn't a rule, but it's certainly something we've figured out over time, is if you have it in a locked case or you have it hanging on the wall where it's not as easily reached, that you have that price where people can see it. We've even hung stuff up and the tag is the wrong way, and Kim and I are standing there going, blow. Till it turns over, we're like, yes!
Well, and going back to being able to see that, it's not just oh my gosh, it's too much, forget that. A lot of times, unless it's something that I am just absolutely goo-goo over, I think, oh my gosh, by the time I find someone and get them to go and get a key and come back and I don't have the time to wait for that. You might have just lost a sale.
That's true.
Where if they're in there going, oh, that's kind of neat. Wow, is that all they want? I want to see this item then. So it's not just running people away, but it's also inviting them to actually buy it if they don't have to wait around and they already know the price on it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because then, by the time they see the item, if they have a claim ticket, then it's upfront waiting, because anything that's taken out of a case needs to be put in another case up front where it's waiting on the customer. We don't just give it to the customer to walk around with. But that's a good point. So people can see that, and then they know whether they want to, wow, I'm pretty sure I want that. I just want to look at it or touch
get
it
a
just
better
to make
look,
sure.
I want to see the back,
Or just say, I want that. Here's my
Yeah.
claim number, and
Yeah.
then they can continue shopping.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't want to run somebody off of a sale.
You want to do
Certainly.
anything you can to make that sale as easy and enticing to someone, because as we've discussed many times, our business is not a necessity. You aren't going to live another day and gain another pound by anything, well, except for the candy up front, anything in our store. So anything that's bought in our store is purely out of it tugging at the heartstring, a memory,
An emotional response.
Yes, and so the best way to do that is to have it in their hands. And in order to do that, you have it clean, you have it staged, you have it priced, you have it visible, you have a better chance at a sale.
Yep, that's true. It's
Sums
not like
it up.
it's not like you go into the grocery store and you need a loaf of bread and you pick it up and you kind of squeeze on it and go, nah, I think I'll wait.
Yep.
I mean, if you need it, you need it. So
Yeah.
that's very
Deodorant,
true.
bar
Yeah.
soap.
Speaking of deodorant, no. So, is there anything else we want to add? I think we pretty much covered it pretty good.
I got a lot of check marks on my paper, so
Good. Well, if you have any other questions about how you should do your price tags, or if you have any questions that we didn't manage to cover, I don't know how, but if you did, and you want to leave those questions in the comment section down below, we will be happy to answer those on another podcast. I think we got another one or two, and we will probably be doing another Your Questions Answered. So please feel free to leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed or you're new, welcome to our channel.
welcome.
And there's many other videos that I do, such as garage sale hauls, thrift sale hauls, auction hauls, booth tours, and an occasional how-to is thrown in there for measure. Is that thunder? Ooh. I don't know if that's thunder. Maybe it's time for me to go home.
Oh no, it's melodic thunder. So I
Maybe
don't
somebody
think
got
so.
their stereo
It's someone's
cranked up.
stereo. Yeah, we're expecting some severe weather coming up here soon. That's why we were thinking thunder.
I don't know. I hope it's done by morning when I go garage
man.
sailing. I mean, I got my priorities, you
You're
know.
worried about garage sailing. I'm worried about my basement flooding. So a whole different level here.
So again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. There's a little bell there. You click on that, and it will let you know as soon as I put a video up. You can also be notified on Twitter under The Pudgy Picker. If you want to leave me a message or a comment and that you don't want to type in down below, you can email me, jen@pudgypicker.com. And I'm thinking about doing like YouTube Live.
Can't say that.
And if I do that, you're going to need to have to click that bell, because that will give you a little, hey, she's gone live. Because I did that for a few times, but I just haven't done it recently.
Well, I keep pushing her too. I would do it, but I can't link to her channel. So
Yeah. Get your own channel.
goodbye.
Okay, on that note, we will sign off. I'm not sure what we're going to be discussing next week, but we will be here next week.
Yes.
And that is all for podcast number 15.
Yay.
So we will see you next time.
Bye.